Good afternoon, everybody. We're a little late, but we're here. It's 12:09. I just saw the number change. I'm Max, despite what this unintelligible garble of symbols below my face says. I don't know how those got there. That is Daim to my right and Renee below me. I will be the lone face you see today, but I hope that will do. Welcome to...
The most handsome of us all.
Yeah, so handsome.
I appreciate it. Here, I'll change my most handsome. There we go. All right, voted most handsome by the internal MOCA team. We're happy to have you. We're excited to be here. How are you guys doing? We'll start off with an easy one.
Pretty good. It's a nice day. We've got a productive start and looking forward to our town hall chatter.
The wildfire smoke is gone.
Yeah. No wildfire folk by me today, as far as I can tell.
Wildflower, because I have these lilies that I wanted to bring over here because they're so beautiful. They smell so good, so that's why I said wildflower.
Oh, you said wildflower. Okay.
Yeah, we're just gonna leave this here for a while. Renee, what's up in Germany?
Nice weather. I'm going to go outside and touch some grass after the pod.
All right.
But mostly I haven't been outside too much over the last couple of weeks due to the development or final crunch time at Cortex and bringing the MOCA library into a state where we can finally start to bring in all the artists so they can submit their stories.
Yeah, let's hang out there, because I think that this is what we want to talk about first and foremost. To everyone listening, we hope that you'll stick around, because we're talking about, at least at the outset, is of pretty vital importance, we think, for everybody in crypto art, which is kind of open submissions for the MOCA library. And so please, I'm going to kind of give an overview. For those of you that haven't read the article, we published an article on the Museum of Crypto Twitter page, which I will link in the chat right now. But here, let me do that real quick, because I can't do two things at once, even at 31. We wrote this article about the MOCA library about a year and a half ago. Was that a year and a half ago? Sometime last year, we started the MOCA library, which basically we had gone around to a bunch of different publications, Super Rare and their blog, Second Realm, Eric P. Rhodes's website, a number of different compendiums of crypto art history, obviously all of the things we've written, and kind of uploaded them into a knowledge graph, which formed the basis for the MOCA library, which to us is kind of the representative overall apex tool for preserving crypto art culture. That is what this all has been about, right? It's what it was about when we were writing essays. It's what it was about when we were podcasting. It's why we do these town halls, documentation about what was going on here, what was happening week after week, what the conversations were, etc. But obviously the best possible scholastic or academic or preservational tool is one that is dictated by whoever wants to learn this information. So the library is, at its very most basic level, a chatbot interface, an AI or an LLM chatbot interface that is trained exclusively on crypto art information. So we gathered tons of documents. I don't have the spreadsheet open, but like I was saying, Super Rare stuff, there's Second Realm stuff in there, there's .art stuff in there. Always got permission from everybody before we uploaded them, because we're not training things on documents that people don't want there. But we always knew that we were moving towards this place where this would be a communal project, because the very first line of the MOCA manifesto is, God, I always forget it.
I got it. Our mission is to preserve the truth. A common truth is found when many voices are heard.
Thank you. We have blind spots, right? There's 3 of us in this chat. Colborn's usually here. He can't make it today, but we have at most like 6 people, 7 people who hang around kind of like the museum internal affairs. We all have massive blind spots. There's tons of stuff we don't know that's going on. There's tons of artists we don't know. There's our own preferences, and we are just going to be beholden to those, despite our best efforts to, bypass them or be egalitarian. The only actually valid preservational method is one that is open to the community, that anybody can add their own kind of history into, right? We want to make an engine of crypto art information based on as many specifics as possible, as many nodes of information as possible, spread as widely as possible, right? When you want to know something about crypto art, when you want to show someone something about crypto art, all is in this one place that is community kind of engineered. So that is why we have opened these like open submissions for the MOCA library, where anybody in our broader ecosystem upload documentation for review. We will approve it almost certainly, just not if it's like spam or there needs to be like one level of moderation, but and then it gets internalized into the library where that becomes kind of like intimately known. So I was just going through some of the people who submitted, like Fabian Rashid has submitted, Ryan Seslow, Bard Janssen, like lots of really specific information about things that they've made or their practice or their history, etc. And so anytime anybody then comes to the MOCA library and says, who was working with generative adversarial networks before 2020? Well, now it has all this information from Bard Janssen about what kind of work he was doing specifically, and it will be able to show, it'll be able to point towards, his words, his writing, his artworks, because it was uploaded into the library. And we are hoping to spread that message as far and wide as possible. We want collectors, we want artists, we want developers, we want creatives of any sort, we want big time, small time, been here for a long time, just got here, all the information about crypto art that is spread amongst this decentralized network. We would like to put it into this preservational tools that it can then be accessed going forward. But how'd I do?
Well said. Well said. I think like what is also interesting to say is that we have like proper citation in the MOCA library replies. You already like scratched the surface of this. So when somebody asks something, then you always have like citation numbers next to the sentences which you can click, and then the original source document, probably by artists who have submitted their data, is being opened, and it scrolls to exactly the point where it pulls, the information that made them write that statement, like right from the source. And I think it's getting even more interesting when you can directly then check, so to speak, these sources in the same interface. Like you can see then why did it say that and who submitted that, like from whom was this like submitted, and then you can also like double check, or for yourself you can understand like, no, this is bullshit, or yeah, this is true because that's a credible character from this space. And I think like these things give additional credibility to like the importance of this as a research tool, also for people outside of our space who might want to write about the history of Web3 without,
On that point, like, one of the things I think we do really poorly in crypto art is actually like plan out what the things we say will mean down the road, right? We say all the time, like, we're so early, this is an important art movement, et cetera, et cetera. And like, if those things are to be true, and I think we all believe that they are true, no matter what we think about crypto art today, then like research and scholarship and academics will come, right? People are going to want to, the PhD students of the 2030s are going to want to find art movements that they can become experts in. And naturally, because of all of the money and cutting edge technology and attention that has been on this movement or comes to this movement, like, let's say somebody wants to do a even starting at the highest level, right? Or not the highest level of, just the highest level of like sales, right? Or the highest level of like notoriety. Somebody 6 years from now wants to do their PhD dissertation on Rafiq Anadol. Well, it's like Rafiq Anadol was making NFTs. Pretty quickly, they're going to find out that like there's a whole sub movement here. and they're going to want to find information on what this movement was. And if they go to, their Claude or their ChatGPT or whatever in 5-6 years, the generalized LLM is of the day, they're going to get information that's not going to be accurate, or rather it's only going to push the same 12 sources to the forefront. There's no like JSON databases for this information, not in its totality. And that's essentially what we're trying to create, is when those people come, when the world realizes that something momentous happened here and they want to know really what happened here, that the reality of what happened here is preserved somewhere that they can see and explore and search through. But again, to do that, we need participation, right? We are offering this tool to, as we have always done with MOCA toolkits, offering this to whoever wants it, but it kind of is pointless without participation. So if you're watching this, we would love anything you have, any documentation.
Just like paste, like we now have like, it's an update from yesterday. Now you can just paste a URL. You can paste the URL to your website, and it automatically scrapes like the subpages on the website. So you just paste a single URL of your personal website and hit submit, and that's it. And then you are in the library, and people from the future, or even like obviously also in the present, like 10 minutes later, like after you've been approved, you can ask the library about yourself, and it will spit out information.
So why don't I'll just give everyone a brief demonstration of how easy this is to do. So here is museumofcryptoart.com/library. Also very easy to find just by going to museumofcryptoart.com and saying enter library up here. Now I've already connected my wallet. I imagine everybody watching this has connected a wallet to something before. Once you connect your wallet, you'll sign something, and you will see these. Well, you won't see review because I'm an admin, so you're not going to have that on yours. But you'll see the submit button, and very simply, brings up this submit window. You can submit, again, either a URL or a document from your computer, whatever your local.
Yeah, PDFs.
Yeah, any
doc files, whatever, Markdown.
You can give it literally any title. Like, we don't care. We just want to know kind of what it is generally. Like, it's not like we're basing it on the title. You can go to this tab underneath your name, right? And you can see your NFTs, or your MOCA NFTs at least. But under community, you'll find that like these are community submissions. Again, I'm an admin. I'm not sure you guys knew that. Did I mention that? But you would see all of your submissions and where they are, whether they're pending or approved. And we're getting to approvals pretty quickly. And then once you get into the library, you can say like, I don't know, who was making AI art in 2019? And basically, anytime that you do this, it will either you have a chat, you have deep research. It's a pretty standard LLM interface from there. But again, it's trained specifically on crypto art. And
it's not like trained is not even the correct technical term. It is it's like a dynamic data, like a dynamic graph that's being generated from the chunk documents that you throw into it. So let's assume you have a 5-page PDF that you throw in, and it chunks that into let's say 20 different pieces so that they fit into the window of an LLM for like ingestion. And then like a language model works itself through these different chunks of the language of the file, and analyzes like by just asking queries, trying to find persons, concepts, companies, collectives, ideas, and like it extracts all of the things it finds and builds like relationships between that. Like you can imagine it as a visualization, like a mind map, where you have like lots of different nodes connected by edges, and the edges describe the relationship between the different things. And this thing grows into a huge mind map, like which is called a knowledge graph. And this knowledge graph keeps growing the more data we shove in as a collective, we call it an institutional memory layer that we are building together as the MOCA community, which is then the MOCA library. And it's not that stuff is being trained, but it makes it way easier and way more efficient for an agent to retrieve data from this like interconnected mind map, which is called the knowledge graph. And it's also the reason that the hardware requirements to do what Max is doing there is super low. Like the model that does the retrieval there can run on a single consumer GPU. Like it doesn't take data center degree hardware. Like again, we've been building this tech stack even on that level, on the hardware level, with like democratization in mind, so that what we've been building, everybody can deploy that at home without expensive subscriptions. Of course, you can also use your if you want to deploy your own MOCA library, which is possible. Everything is open source. You can run your own. But this instance here is full of crypto art and Web3 knowledge. And we hope that the amount of data that we collectively can insert there can increase the size of the graph by 10x, 50x, so that at some point as a community, like we can stand as the neutral ground for research or historic research about this art movement, and really kind of neutral, because everybody has aggregated their subjective reality as an artist into this huge objective reality that we turn this interface into.
Yeah, we're trying to create a research tool, right? We're not trying to tell anyone how to consider history. That is not our role. It's not our role to, it is no longer our role to like build the narrative of crypto art, right? That power has been taken out of our hands, sometimes through force, sometimes because we let go of it. What we want to do is to restore the ability to everyone to add themselves to that narrative, so that whoever wants to build a narrative can do so with the actual tools that were here. So that, you know, when people say, oh, this person was the pioneer of this style, they or others can very easily access research that either confirms that boast or contradicts that boast. So yeah, we're really proud of this. We really want people to submit to the library. Obviously, like, this becomes exponentially more important and powerful the more information is in there. We don't have access to all these local files. We don't have access to all of these, you know, artist descriptions, to all of these thematic curatorial statements. These are the things that we're looking for, you know, a one-off blog, someone's Substack, etc. All of that is going to make this engine that much more powerful for this movement. And I think that this is something we're going to see a lot going forward, is people and organizations who are opting not to use, or who are opting instead of using massive LLMs trained on the entire world, they're going to use more agile, powerful LLMs trained only on their data, because that's all that they're interested in. That's basically the whole point of Cortex that Renee has been building over the last year, giving that functionality to whomever wants it, right? A team, an organization, an artist, etc. Anybody that wants basically a dedicated MOCA library for their world of information, that remembers what's put into it, remembers the questions that are asked. We think that kind of preservation is only going to become more important as more and more of the internet is kind of digested into these large LLMs, and they naturally become less specific or unique in how they're answering questions. We already know that this is something that's happening.
And also, like, the platforms all around the internet are already gating their APIs and are putting like paywalls in front of articles, subscriptions in front of whatever it is. And we as MOCA definitely see a future where, and you already see that with X, where you need to pay for API queries if you want to know something from X, or your agent wants to know something for X, you pay per query, the same way as you pay for Grok inference. And we see a future where more and more is going to be gated, and that is going to make it even harder to find these bits of information, the bits of history, where, let's say, an interview about you as an artist on a given platform will be gated 5 years from now with a paywall. and then maybe you yourself don't have access to it anymore except you are subscribing to that news outlet.
I mean, I think honestly, this is what the general public misunderstands the most about AI is people do not understand how fundamentally intensely it's being subsidized, right? It is like Uber on fucking steroids, right? When Uber was released, at least in the US, it was so cheap. It was so competitive. There was no point to take any other public transportation method or any other transportation method. But the point was to grow a subscriber base that became like accustomed to the technology and then raise prices. The same thing as streaming services, right? Get people addicted to what's on Netflix or get people to incorporate Netflix in their lives and then raise prices into what they kind of should be when they're not being subsidized by VC investment. It's the same thing with AI, right? There's a reason that like companies are starting to question token usage by their engineers because tokens are getting more expensive, slowly but surely more expensive, and they will only get more expensive because they're being all that compute is being heavily subsidized. And that goes into basically every channel of AI, right? The fact that like a ChatGPT or a Claude subscription is like $20, like a couple years ago,
I think ChatGPT is heaviest. Like when you have a $200 ChatGPT subscription and you max it out, for the like token budget that you get inside the subscription, you would pay for the same amount of token like $8,000 or $9,000. It's like something people wrote, and that is like how much? 40x more.
Yeah, it's intense. Like again, like so much of the money that's going into this is subsidizing it in order to incorporate it into our lives before it's actually found its like price target. And people
we are trying to build something outside of the claws of like these venture capital people who are going to take their investments back.
People are going to become very accustomed to having this technology available, and if it's gated behind 3 companies, that's just not good for anyone. And so I think that part of our belief in the open source movement is it will provide positive pressure on a market that doesn't seem to have a ton of alternatives to like large frontier models and like whatever pricing schemes that they decide to impose. So this is certainly a product that we believe will become very obvious in hindsight. It's why we wanted to get it out now, because we want to start evangelizing about how important it is to like self-host these things when possible, and owning your own data and owning your own documents and owning your own memory and owning the knowledge graphs that link all the information between them. So yeah, we hope you will go to the museumofcryptoart.com and check out Cortex. We hope that you will go to museumofcryptoart.com/library and start uploading your documents and then playing around with the library. These knowledge graphs are amazing. They make hundreds and thousands of connections between documents almost instantly. And like any frontier AI lab will tell you, the more information that is in the core of an LLM, the better it is at pulling that information, contextualizing that information, parsing through that information. So we are very much relying on everyone listening and in the future to help us build this out, because it's for we see it as being built for everyone here. And we think it is pretty universally useful.
I think it's an opportunity to really aggregate the voices of those who are usually not heard into something that cannot be unheard. Like if we bring this to a size where it definitely is the best resource to learn about crypto art and Web3, then everybody who submitted into this is going to be, retrieved from that information. And if we don't bundle our like efforts, I don't think we have a chance standing against those people who have always been trying to, morph the history towards their own desires or their own ideologies or their own goals. And this stuff has happened over the last couple of years. Like everybody who has been inside Web3 has been seeing it right in front of their eyes, how capital changes the course of history. And like as a collective, as as MOCA, as a community that is not, steered by venture capital, we can be that bastion that sticks together and, gather our voices into something really big and important.
I think it's the the eventual grad student research thesis that you brought up, Max. Like, doesn't matter what fucking opportunists swooping in to pump their bags and further showcase the handful of people that are already getting most of the attention, while 95% of crypto artists are ignored without without any concern over that. If at the end of the day, when actual meaningful like honest objective interest in crypto art does happen, the information is there to eventually enable someone to actually tell the story in something in a way that sort of approaches correctness and isn't kind of nakedly motivated by purely by like sale prices and
Yeah,
sort of big name interests.
I mean, I think you're 100% right. I think none of us are naive enough anymore to think that like those big market making interests are going to cede control of the narrative. They will just cede control of the narrative to others. But as far as there is objective truth, it's really hard to find objective truth. Let me rephrase that. You can't find objective truth with an art movement that's based so heavily in social media, right? The information disappears. And it's so based on whatever the algorithm is showing anybody at any given moment. And so a do your own research tool that actually allows you to do your own research, I think, is really, really important for collectors, who are going to look back in this movement, for people who are academics who are looking to see who the actual innovators were here. And sometimes that is big artists, sometimes it's not. Even for people looking back to see, who were the biggest artists in, October of 2022. I'm not sure I remember necessarily with that level of efficacy. I'm not sure that even the library has that knowledge at the moment, but we're hoping that by the time that, all is said and done, the sun sets on crypto art and it seeds ground to another movement to take on its mantle. Again, this is the tool by which all of those questions can be answered with utmost specificity. And that, again, can only happen with the multitude of voices. I think that that's in the spirit of the movement itself, that the decentralized nature of the thing is represented in its scholarship tools, which I think we are all pretty aligned on here. I think that's really what I wanted to make sure we talked about today. Please add your documents to this stuff. Nobody likes to participate in anything unless it's going to make them rich. And this is not going to make you rich. This is not going to make you any money. I don't think this is going to make you any money.
We are collecting the ETH addresses, and we have a token. And we might drop some rewards, but no promises.
Potential ideas on doing something.
But we don't want this to be, we don't shout out, like, we give money when you upload a file, like on X, because then people are going to upload just because of the money. So if you are listening to this, you care about crypto art. Otherwise, you wouldn't listen to this podcast. So if you submit something, you might get some airdrop.
So we're not saying this is alpha. But we're also not saying this isn't alpha.
There's no alpha. We just want we want you to do this altruistically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have products you can buy. Cortex is a product that you can spend money in. This MOCA library thing, this is not about anybody's bags.
This is for crypto art.
The token is worth nothing at this point, like the MOCA token, but we still want, to distribute it into the hands of the people who care. So the idea is to obviously send out some rewards, but we have no
going forward with that,
plans.
And no specificity, no plans.
No plans. We're going to vibe.
One day.
Going to roll.
We will have more updates about this in the future. Obviously, this is something we're going to keep working on. We want to make sure that there's more kinds of files that can be updated. We want podcasts, we want videos, transcription tools. So this is something we're going to keep working on. Please.
Maybe also interesting to say, like, we are also right now like trying to like position the underlying Cortex product towards like clients who pay like subscriptions, and of course also the self-hosting community. But for us as a museum, you like showcasing this technology and like getting actual like clients using it, like companies in the real world paying some US dollars, this is going to help us to sustain the work that we've been doing over the past years. So that's another angle of this whole thing, that we can see a future where a product like this, which we develop open source, but it can also be used by non-technical corporate people to host the data sovereign on their own infrastructure for their small medium business, and give them power using the stuff that we've built. I think, yeah, going these directions is going to enable a lot for us as a collective when it comes to like actual revenue, because people really need these AI tools, and we make it, as Max already said, in comparison to the frontier model, or even like the cheapest model that OpenAI is offering, like the stuff that we are using here, and the efficiency that it brings by using this technology combined with your own data that you own, like the result, like it is like 10-20x cheaper using this. It's for companies, it should be a no-brainer, but we need to like somehow like pierce through the attention of the AI bubble. So let's see how that goes. But I think like if we can prove with the MOCA library like this idea at a very, very big scale, that would also help us as a collective to demonstrate that the technology works at scales, even for like larger corporations. Where like right now we have like I think 1,300 files in there. Like we can easily handle like 50,000 files or even more. Like, we just like would be cool to have like a real like publicly available demo.
Yeah, are there 350,000 files in CryptoArt? We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see how much we can get there. We should have like a huge counter on the MOCA website, how many files we have in, how many entities and relationships. We should build that.
Like 7, 6, 8, 9.
We're going to start that as soon as as the community starts to actually upload something. I think like over the last couple of days, we've received submissions from around 10 people in the last 2 days, and we expect it to go exponential. But you have to help us, otherwise we cannot manifest this assumption.
We need you.
We need you.
Call to action.
Yep.
But I think this was good. I'm glad we talked about this. This is on the record, right? Hopefully we have the tools into the library soon.
I'm going to pull it in from the YouTube channel.
We got a lot of good stuff on there.
Already connected.
Daim, thank you very much. Renee, thank you very much. We'll be back next time.
Somebody submitted.
Look at that. We appreciate
that.
We appreciate
work.
Appreciate you listening. We appreciate you checking out what we've built and playing around with it and adding your voice to it, because it's really, really important to us, and we hope it's important to you too. And reach us at our Discord or our Twitter page if you have any questions.